What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 17 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got kind of a long one. We got just over a 30-minute video, and you might notice that I'm a little bit over halfway through in the video. There's a reason for that. It turns out that I had actually deleted some of the half slabs that we had added in one of the previous episodes, and I went to show that the file got corrupted. Long story short, I'm just gonna have to tell you guys what to do here to delete this error to make it look like exactly what I have, but don't worry, I got you guys. So essentially it's going to be the half slabs up here that we're going to be getting rid of. You're only going to be going 3 rows over, and you're not going to be deleting any of these 1, 2, 3, 4 rows that we have right here. If you do that, you're in good shape. And the reason that we're going to be doing this is because we're going to be reworking how we have this blended in with the neck. So basically, long story short, getting rid of the half slabs. It's only about 3 wide going up until we get to that top 4th row. We're not going to be going any further in front of that. So as long as you do that, you'll be in good shape. So now we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to just jump right into this thing. So we're going to be starting to build in our hull and picking up right where we left off in yesterday's episode, adding a lip on the left side. You see I'm going 2 back because I'm following the pattern that we have in front of us. I'm just going up by 1. You start to identify these building cues like I talk about all the time, and you can start to predetermine where your lines are going to go. It's essentially what we're doing here, and now on this cut line we're going up 1. Normally we'd be going down 1, but for this row that we're going to be adding, we're going to be going up 1. Let's get some lights in here to brighten it up a little bit. And even though there's a half slab there, we're going to do a full block. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Now, if you do happen to have problems when you're removing some of those blocks that are connected to the neck and to the lower hull, don't worry, we are going to be panning back over to that area when we start to fill that in. So then you'll be getting a much clearer view of it. In this episode, we don't really touch on it too much, which is why I stopped the episode where I did. But we are going to pan back to it and fill all that stuff in, so this way it'll all make sense when we do that. Usually, and I've gone through and I've checked my recordings, I don't know what happened with my computer when I deleted that stuff, but for some reason, like out of all the sessions that I've done, that's like the only one where it actually started freezing up, and it was pretty much, it was unviewable, and I wasn't going to upload that onto one of my episodes. But I figured that what I have here, it's shouldn't be too hard to replicate that at all as far as getting that cut away there. It's really, you're just removing 3 rows from the very top side. And as long as you're looking at it from the inside and you have those 4 full blocks going forward down at an angle, you're in good shape. That's not counting, of course, the half slabs here in the front. Of course, the next thing I'm trying to figure out is exactly how I'm going to go up each row. And I've just pretty much decided that I'm just going to stick with the full blocks. If I decide I want to go back to the half slabs, I will. But I think for right now, that's what I'm going to do right there. And then we're going to go back on this side, and we're going to go up 1, we're going to go in, up 1, in in with the half slab, and then up one, and then in by one, and stop right there. So we got the upper side done. Let's go ahead and do the underside. We're essentially wireframing out our cut lines, so this way when we go to fill all this in, the hard work will be done. It'll literally just be filling in the rows pretty much. It's kind of the best way I can describe it. But especially with this, you want to take your time in doing it, because you really don't want to rush too much, because that's where you're going to find yourself repeating a lot of steps. We're really trying to avoid this with the Enterprise D, because there are some areas that no matter what we do, we're going to have to come back to. So it's just better to take your time with it, because the more you take your time, better the ship's going to come out. Alright, so now we're just going to go along the lower hull and add cut line going down with the cut. And we're just literally going along the same pattern that we have, we're just literally going down by one. This is a little dark there up there in that area, but as long as you're going the cut line, you're in good shape. Well, this is going. I've actually been having a few people dropping comments on ships that they want to see me do. It's really starting to look like Voyager might end up being my next build on here after the Enterprise D. I think that of all the ships that I've been getting requests for, that's probably the number one at this point. That's still not set in stone. There's a lot of stuff I have to do. If I get a ton of people asking me for something else that I feel is more popular, I might end up doing that. But hey, if you want to see Voyager as my next build, let me know in the comments section. If there's another ship that you want to see me build, drop a comment below. Let me know what ship you want to see. You never know. If I get enough people asking for it, I'll probably end up doing it. There's a couple of ships I've been looking at, but it's kind of funny, because even when I was, before I did the Cerritos, I was thinking about what my next ship was going to be. And even back then, I was thinking about doing Voyagers. I had a couple of people that were asking for it then. And recently, I've had a few more. So I'm kind of thinking that's maybe what I should do, is do that. I believe Voyager is the Intrepid class. That would be a lot of fun to do. A different type of ship. And I don't think it would be a super long build, because Voyager's not a big ship. She's pretty small by comparison to the Enterprise D. So getting back in a little bit what we got going on here, this new cut line that I added on the top side, you can tell I don't like it, so I'm getting rid of this. And we're going to do the same thing on the left side. And I think what's tripping me up right there is that it's just not matching with the rows of half slabs. So we're going to figure that out here in just a second. You definitely see in the last episode why I thickened this back end up, making it too wide going all the way around. Because if we would have just had one, that would have, I think it would have just been way too little to really have. So I'm thinking what I'm just going to do here, rather than maybe going up with a cut, just bringing this row that I have already pre-established back to this next cut line. Because as I was looking at it, there were two things that I wasn't liking. One, I didn't like that I was cutting upward. And two, it wasn't really blending in with the half slabs. And that's why I said, in the beginning of the episode, that this was really a part where normally we'd be going down, which which is ultimately what we're going to end up doing. But the problem that at the point that we were at right here and why we're extending it is that to start transitioning down, it's kind of too soon. So we're pretty much trying to elongate that and make it to bring this area back just a little bit more without it being too far back. Because at the same time, we want to have some shape to this ship and not have it so the same dimension just going all the way back. We want it to start curving down like the Enterprise D looks on the sides. We can get away with this, bringing this back to the next cut line. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And this is just one of the things you got to do when you're building a ship from scratch. You got to throw something down, see how it looks, and if it doesn't look good, make a change until it comes out the way that you want it to. And this is shipbuilding 101, and I'm actually kind of excited that I'm able to show some of this stuff off, because a lot of this you really didn't get a chance to see during the Cerritos builds. Well, you saw it a little bit, but you really didn't get a chance to see any of that during the Disco Era Enterprise, because I'd built so many Constitution classes. But this, you're really getting the entire build process and decision making and why I decide to make the decisions that I make. And hopefully, you're learning a little bit of something with methods that I use, and hopefully this is stuff that you can transition into your own shipbuilding. Or at least that's the idea about it. Now, if you do, for whatever reason, have questions that I'm not answering, feel free to drop a comment below. I'm usually pretty responsive in the comment section. I'll try to help you out if I can. But, that's really the best way I can describe it. Sometimes you just have to play with it a little bit. And if it's not coming out the way that you want it, delete it and try again and build it in a different way. If you're having trouble figuring out what you want to do, maybe look at different types of builds that other people have made. Not even necessarily Enterprise D, but maybe different types of ships, just to give you an idea, And if that doesn't work, take a break. Take a break from building, build something else, or just play a different game, watch TV or whatever it is, come back to it later on with a fresh set of eyes. You might surprise yourself just by doing that you'll be refreshed, because I found that a lot of times on here building myself that 9 times out of 10 when it's not coming out the way that I want it to, it's not that I'm not doing a good job, it's that I'm getting so frustrated because it's not coming out the way that I want it to. I'm starting to just let that frustration take over, and it's stopping really the creative juices from coming out and doing something that I'm trying to get across. That's at least what happens to me a lot of the times. But so far, for the Enterprise D, there weren't too many areas that I really had to take breaks from. The lower hull here wasn't that really bad at all building it out, but the deflector dish kind of sent me for a loop for a little while, because it was really difficult to render that area going at the angle that's supposed to be and having it look like the Enterprise D. That really was a challenge in itself, and we will get into that. And I'm going to show all the steps that I took, so hopefully you guys will be able to copy that almost exact, if not exact, because at the end of the day, you don't have to make an exact carbon copy what I'm making. This is mostly intended to be a reference that you can use, so at the end of the day, you can turn around and build your own ship. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I'm hoping that by putting this out, there'll be a lot more people that have Enterprise Ds in their Minecraft. Maybe there's other building block format games where, like Starship Evo, for example, you could make the Enterprise D on Starship Evo if you were so inclined with this tutorial, because they have that block format set there. I'm not gonna lie, I actually at one point considered making the Enterprise D on Starship Evo, but if I do ever decide to do that, it's gonna be a while, because this is such a long build that I'm still currently working on right now, that I want to take a break from it for a while. But after spending so much time developing it, and I've talked about this in the past, that it would be a shame not to revisit it, like I have with like the Constitution class, for example. I really spent a lot of time on the Constitution class, working on those patterns to come up with something that looks really good, that's not super complicated to do. And that can take time to pull that stuff together. It took me several years, trial and error, building different versions of the Enterprise, pretty much to end up at the Disco Era Enterprise that we did, and for it to come out as good as it did. I really did a lot of that within a short period of time for the Enterprise D. But there's maybe one or two areas that I could definitely improve upon. The neck is one of them. Actually, as of right now, I think the neck might be the only part that I would probably want to revisit and try to get it a little bit better if I could. But at the same time, I don't know if that would be possible. I might be really at the point where it's going to get as good as it gets, but you never know until you try to build the ship again. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I might end up redoing at one point another Galaxy class down the road, but it'll be on Starship Evo if I do it. I don't think I'll be doing another one on Minecraft unless I really come up with a pattern on the neck, or there's like a pressing area on the ship that I really feel that I can redo it and it comes out better. I don't foresee myself coming back to it. Like right now, for example, I had put out the teaser for the Strange New Worlds Enterprise, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. I actually want to get back into what I got going on here. You can see that I'm actually I've gone down to the next cut line, and now I'm bringing in the underside down to that next cut line that matches the top. And we're going to be doing this going all the way around the bottom. But yeah, no, I've been working on the Strange New Worlds edition of the Enterprise, which is basically the Disco Era Enterprise Mark II. And I actually had one or two people comment in there saying that they didn't really notice the difference in the ships. And that's, right now, there are really only two main changes that I've made to it so far. And there's also a reason why I haven't put out the tutorial, and that's because I'm sitting on it. I'm waiting for either one of two things. I'm waiting for either the teaser for the show to come out that shows the revised Enterprise, or more pictures, or the show to come out where I can see it. But I did get a screenshot. At this point, I'll just tell you guys about where I found it. But for those of you that have know if TrekMovie.com or don't, go on there and scroll through the articles. There's some production notes from Strange New Worlds, and they had in one of the screenshots a director's reel, and on that director's reel was a picture of the new Enterprise, and I noticed that it was pretty much the Disco Era Enterprise, but they had made two subtle changes to it, and that was with the pylons and the lower end of the lower hull directly underneath the shuttle bay, which is why those are the two main areas that I focused on right now. But unfortunately, in that picture, it was just the silhouette of the Enterprise and didn't show any of the detail. So I'm kind of like, I have a few ideas on things I would like to do to that ship to maybe make it look a little bit more like the TOS Enterprise, but at the same time maintaining a lot of the shape that we currently have. But I'm just waiting to see what I want to do until some more pictures come out. But I wanted to get that teaser out because there's something I've been working on here and there. I wanted to at least share that and get that content out, maybe get people excited about it for those of you that want to see it, because I have had a few people ask me for the TOS Enterprise, and what my goal is, I'm hoping that they do it with Strange New Worlds, and I think that they're going to, based off the shot that I saw of the Enterprise. It really looks like they're going to make some revisions to it to make it look more like the TOS Enterprise, while keeping within the updates that they made to the Enterprise for Discovery, which I'm kind of fine with, because if you look at it through today's standards, as much as I love the Shatner movies, if you go back to TOS, they were really running on a budget of $10 and a box of Christmas lights. So it's not like they had no money, and that's just kind of how it was, and that's why the show was so cheaply done. A lot of times I had no budget to do anything, but at the same time I love that ship, but some of the angles on it, the proportions are a little bit weird, and there's some things that I did really like what they did with it for Star Trek Discovery, but there's some other things that I didn't like. The pylons, for example, I never really cared for those. I always felt like, they basically just took the pylons from the Constitution refit and stuck them on the TOS Enterprise and kind of flattened it down a little bit and reworked the neck a little bit so it didn't look so weird, and the same thing with the lower hull, and then they kind of called it a day. But looking at it with the straight pylons, it actually looks pretty good. So definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll be seeing more of the Disco Era Enterprise, and I think that's going to be so far the only tutorial that I'm going to do a season 2 on, because I feel that there will be an eventual reason to do it, but I don't have a release date for it yet, so keep an eye out for that. But if you see more screenshots come out, or official screenshots come out of the Enterprise for that show, you could probably expect me to be doing that season fairly shortly following when those pictures come out. Another ship that I've actually had quite a few comments and requests for is the U.S.S. Discovery A, and that is a ship that I fully intend to build, but I'm trying to get my hands on a 3D model of it or something. I know that they recently put it out in Star Trek Online, and I wish that they just made the ship available to buy, because I'd honestly, at this point, I would just buy it. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Now, on this side here, you can see that I'm not going down again with a cut. I'm just filling this in. So I want to make sure to do this on your ship as well. But no, I wish I could have got my hands on the the Discovery A from Star Trek Discovery Season 3, because the backside of the neck is one area I feel like that I need at least a 3D model or something where I could pan around and look at it from that angle and get some screenshots to build it right. But as soon as I get that, you can bet that I'm going to be doing a tutorial on that, because other than Voyager, I think the Discovery A is probably my #1 request that I've had, and I hear everybody that's asking for that. I'm just trying to wait until I get the screenshots to where I can really build it without having really to spin my tires on it. I'm making a lot of mistakes, because I built the original Discovery on my channel. I had quite a few people that they loved it. It did fairly well as far as views go, but there were some things on it that I wasn't all that happy with. I really kind of rushed some areas on it on the saucer section, and at one point I had started rebuilding it, but my heart wasn't into building that ship. But for some reason, the Discovery A, I actually really dig how that ship looks. So I know for certain I'm going to be building it. It's just a matter of whenever I can get my hands on some screenshots so I can do it justice. Because I really feel that I can do something that looks pretty cool and that stays pretty true to it. So we're in pretty good shape right now, so far. You can see this top row here where it's going in with the half slabs. I'm not happy with how that's going no matter what I do. So ultimately, I'm going to have to whip out the half slabs probably, unless I do something like that. Which I don't know if I necessarily like that. And that is the one problem with using half slabs when you're building 3D shapes, because you can't go back and forth between using the half slabs and full blocks. If you're using half slabs in these rows, we're pretty much going to have to dedicate ourselves to using those half slabs. Otherwise, it's going to start to come out a little bit wonky, which is something that I want to avoid. I don't want the ship to look weird at any positions really, or any angles that we're looking at it necessarily. But I would expect at some point that we're probably going to redo at least 4 of these rows here where there's half slabs, because I don't think that's necessarily working the way I want it to. We're not doing too bad on time. We still have about 13 minutes to go, but as you can see, it's going to take a little bit of work to really close this thing in. And it, kind of is what it is. That's how this whole build's going to be. This is one of the reasons why I try to save time with the saucer section, because we would have been well into episode 20 before we even got to this point if I built every single row live. But this is the sacrifice you make when you're making a ship to the scale. It just simply takes time to render. And I wish that there was a way I could speed this up a little bit, but at the same time, I don't feel that I could do that and at the same time show everything and have everybody be able to stay at a pace where they can keep up with me. You can see on this side here, I'm trying to kind of mess with that there, but I don't know if I really like what I did on this row here because it's kind of just bleeding into the last row and it's going to give us problems as we go down. Well, I actually take that back. It's not necessarily going to give us problems as we go down, but on this cut line, it'll look weird. That's what I meant to say. So we're going to try to do another layer now. We're going to build all this out, and pretty simple. Just the cut downward that we've added, the next row, we're just going to bring that out to the next cut line. See, this is what I was talking about when I spent so much time working on this outline, and I meant it that, it was really going to be vital to the whole build because it's pretty much setting out the blueprint for how this whole thing's going to go, a combination of this front end of the ship and then the sides going all the way around. It's all going to come together as we go and go row to row or cut to cut as we go down. But this row that I'm adding right here, I don't know how well that's, well, that might actually end up working out now that I look at it. No, it's this row right here. That's the one that might be off. And I might ultimately have to switch to half slabs on that because it's going to look, it's going to kind of stand out a little bit maybe. But we'll have to build it out, see how it looks. If it looks bad, we can always change it. Or another thing that we can do too is that we can go and add half slabs going along here to make it look like it cuts in one. There's a couple of things that we can do to fix that and address it. Alright, so we're in good shape. We're going to do the same thing on the right side of the ship now that we just did on the left side. I'm certain a lot of you at this point have seen Season 2 trailer for Star Trek Picard, and they actually showed Q. I'm curious to see what everybody's thoughts are about Season 2 Picard. Based on kind of what I've gathered from it, it looks like there's definitely, for sure, heavy time travel involved in what they're going to do with Season 2. Which I love that because some of the best Star Trek episodes involve time travel, and the movies for that matter. But at the same time, it kind of feels like they might end up erasing a lot of the stuff that happened in Season 1. Which I don't know how I feel about that, because it's, they spent all this time on it, going on this journey for it, just to kind of erase it. But at the same time, and I haven't talked about it too much, but I'll talk about it now. I wasn't absolutely crazy about Star Trek Picard Season 1. And I'll tell you why, because at the end of the day, they didn't tell me anything I didn't already know about Picard's relationship between him and Data. At the end of the day, Data wanted to, be more human. And, when he died in Star Trek Nemesis, to me, he made the ultimate sacrifice, and that was to save his friends. And there's nothing more human than that. And then they kind of basically just retread that in Season 1 of Picard. Now, don't get me wrong, it's cool that he has a daughter, I do like that, but the other thing that never sat well with me was that Q owed Data one. And for those of you that don't know about that, go back and watch Star Trek The Next Generation. and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I forget the name of the episode, but Q owes Data one. There's something that Data did for Q, and Q was even going to make him human, and he decided not to. And I was really expecting, when Data died at the end of Star Trek Nemesis, I kind of expected Q to show up and bring him back. I really did. So I'm hoping that maybe that by the time everything's said and done, maybe they bring Data back. If they don't bring Data back, I'd be fine with it, but then bring B4 back. You know, I like Brent Spiner, and they should spend the money to de-age him, you know, to keep that going. That would be cool, because that's definitely one thing I know for sure that I want them to do with Picard for season 2, because I want to see more of the TNG cast members. One of the things I loved with it, that they brought back Will Riker, I thought that was cool, but I want to see LeVar Burton back as Geordi. I want to see Michael Dorn back as Worf. I want to see Beverly Crusher back again, Gates McFadden, yeah, you know, bring all of them back. I don't see why not. They really do. Even Wesley Crusher, what's he been up to? You know, he had that brief cameo in the beginning of Nemesis, but you really don't get a sense of, you know, what's been going on with him since he left with that guy in Star Trek The Next Generation when he left Starfleet. So there's a lot of stuff that they could do that I think at this point they kind of need to. So I think, and what I'm hoping is that the producers are getting the idea that, you know, fans at the end of the day, they miss Star Trek The Next Generation. And I think right now we really need a lot of that in the world. That's just kind of my opinion on it, but we'll see where it goes. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely I'm intrigued by Picard season 2. I think it's cool that they brought Q back, but we'll have to see what they do with it. You know, I heard that John DeLance, the guy that plays Q, I heard that they're shooting Picard season 2 and 3 right now, and he's in both seasons. So that will be pretty cool. At least Q will be around for a while, but we'll just have to see how it pans out. I am excited about it, though. I think, though, out of all the shows that are currently being worked on right now, Star Trek related, I'm probably the most excited for Strange New Worlds and then Lower Decks season 2. I can't praise Star Trek Lower Decks enough. It's a show that I never intended to watch, and just one day I was bored and I flipped it on, and I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Star Trek, you need to watch that show, because the jokes in that show, I mean, it's catered for Star Trek fans. It really is. And it's got a ton of heart. It's got so much heart in it. You need to definitely check those shows out. But this is, you know, it's a great time to be a Star Trek fan. There's a lot of content that they're putting out, and hopefully we'll get to see some new ships and be able to build some of those ships that they're adding, you know, into the universe. The Discovery A is going to be one of them whenever I can get my hands on a 3D picture of it, or some more pictures of that next so I can build the ship out correctly. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to that I'm going to be able to hopefully do on the YouTube channel. Like I said, you know, I know that for sure I want to do the U.S.S. Voyager. That may very well end up being my next build on Minecraft, unless there's something that people want so much that, you know, I feel that I have to do that next. But, you know, again, let me know. Let me know what you guys think of these new shows that are coming out, how you feel about them. What are your thoughts on what my next ship's going to be? Drop a comment below. Definitely love to hear from everybody. But we're definitely moving along here on the Enterprise D, just filling in our lower hull here, and not really doing anything complicated, just literally repeating the same step that we did on the upper side, but now bringing this back on the underside with the cut line. And as long as you do that, you can't make any mistakes, because the blueprint has already been laid out for us. Just every once in a while, we kind of have to rework it as we're going and cutting downward as we're going layer to layer, which sometimes takes a little bit of finagling, but I got you guys on that, and you know, we'll do that together as we go. But I'm actually pretty happy with how the hull came out for the Enterprise D. It's one of my favorite features on the ship. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted to do without making any exceptions for it. The only area that, you know, like I said, I wasn't completely happy with was the neck, and maybe I could say that there were tiny bits on the deflector dish that I wish I would have been able to build a little bit better, but that's just me being my own worst critic. I think at the end of the day it still looks pretty good. Definitely one of my top builds that I've done on Minecraft for sure. how are we looking here? We still got about 2 minutes left. We'll be filling in the rest of this lower side. And then we'll be wrapping this up today, and we'll be hopefully being able to fill in the rest of this lower hull by the end of next week. But if not, we'll take as much time as we need to take to fill this in, and taking the time and care to do it right. All right, we're looking pretty good. We got 2 more rows to do on this side, and then we got pop over to the other side. All right, and then one more. So you can just, at this point, go side to side, just like that. And let's bring that back, just so they match. Oh, I actually already did the right side. Literally after I said that, I just thought to myself, did I already do the right side? But we did. So you can see I'm going to be altering the very bottom side. We're going to be going down with a cut and in by 1, making that just flat on the underside, instead of making it arch upward. Which I don't think it's not gonna look bad at all. I think it'll look just fine. We're making slow but steady progress on this thing. Pretty happy with the shape that it's starting to turn out into. At the end of the day, the question you need to ask yourself is, does it look like the Enterprise D? Is it starting to look like the Enterprise D? And I definitely think it is. So we're definitely hitting all those check marks, but this is why we're taking our time to ensure that we hit these check marks without making a bunch of mistakes. Yeah, very happy with the progress that we've made thus far, but I think that's going to wrap us up today. We've gotten a decent amount done, but we got to stop it at some point. We've already gone up to 36 minutes, so we're going to call this one a day for this week. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button. And helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Everybody takes the time to watch these videos, that are subscribed, that are comments, that likes my videos. You all are awesome. Thank you so much for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on, so you always get notified when my new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can usually catch my Starship Evo builds dropping on Mondays, and my Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I will catch you on next week's episode.